Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, selamat malam, magandang gabi, ciao buhay toy. Welcome to this webinar event, which is jointly organized by the Center for Commercial Law Studies, Queen Mary, University of London, in particular by the Alumni Association from two different countries, Indonesia and Philippines, and Youth Lawyer Committee, PERADI. Today's webinar title is The Sustainability and Sovereignty of Digital and Green Economy in the AI Era and 5G Technology Emergence from an ASEAN Perspective. In this webinar, I'm
like earbuds, saying that the shapeshifters were looking for a person marked with this symbol. He suggested that she could ask Nina for help.
Dear everybody, please kindly turn off the microphone. Thank you. So, in this webinar, I'm Evgenia from the CCLS Indonesia chapter, will be the host of today's webinar event. This webinar will consist of two big sessions. The first session will be started by me, the host, and later opened by the moderator, Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama, followed by the opening speech for 10 minutes approximately, then the presentation from two speakers separately. Each of them will have 15-20 minutes to do the presentation, where question and answer session will be held after the two speakers are finished with the presentation. However, questions can be raised throughout the whole session in the chat before the question and answer session begins. Then the second session will be started after the question and answers of the first session is finished by Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama, will remain as the moderator for the second session with the same format where the two speakers will do their presentation separately, then followed by a question and answer session before the whole session is concluded by Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama as moderator and later by me as the host. Before I hand to the moderator, on behalf of the organizer and steering committee, I would like to express my gratitude by saying thank you to all the people who contributed to the success of this event, where I will start with the distinguished guest speakers like Mr. Andra Reinhard Pasaribu from YLC PERADI, Mr. Firdaus from the University of Barcelona, Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor from Telkomsel, Mr. Miguel Di Mayakayak from Orion W, and Gian Zheng from Shopee for sharing their knowledge, view, and experience to all of us in this event. We also would like to say thank you to Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama from the Central Bank of Indonesia as the moderator of this event, Mrs. Evgenia Nilsson, me from Alpha Bank as the host of this event, Mrs. Catherine Taylor-Bennett, and Mrs. Rachel Owusu-Dome from the CCLS Alumni and Development Team in London for technical and promotional assistance of this event. We also would like to thank you very much to my colleagues at CCLS Committee Indonesia chapter, such as Mr. Firdaus as the initiator and lead project of this event, Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor for the idea to collaborate with the YLC PERADI, Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama for the eFly and Zoom background, and me, Evgenia Nilsson, and Jennifer Karina for promotional assistance, as well as the rest of the members of CCLS Committee Indonesia chapters and CCLS Indonesia community. Also, we would like to thank very much my colleagues from YLC PERADI, such as Mr. Andra Reinhard Pasaribu for approving the collaboration idea for this event, Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor for the idea of initiating this collaboration and promotional assistance, Mr. Regandu Yasudingagrat for the promotional assistance, Mr. Glacia Regita Putri Mai Made as PIC contact person and other technical assistants, then publication and media center division, as well as YLC PERADI secretariat team for promotional assistance. Also, we would like to thank very much my colleagues, such as Mr. Voltaire from the CCLS Philippine chapter for approving this joint event and finding a speaker from the Philippines. Last but not least, we also appreciate all the participants who kindly enough decided to allocate their time to this good event, as the good event is determined not only by the topic, speakers, and organizer, but also by the presence of the participants. Often people say, the more the merrier. So, without further ado, I will continue by introducing our moderator for this event, Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama. So, Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Pratama graduated from CCLS Queen Mary University of London with a general law LLM degree in 2021 and is the public relations manager in the CCLS Queen Mary University of London Indonesia chapter. As of current, Iqbal is an assistant manager at the Central Bank of Indonesia in a department which heavily involves the digital economy and green economy as part of its business process. Iqbal has experience as a moderator before this event when his department disseminated newly regulated Central Bank of Indonesia regulations to stakeholders in a form of socialization. All right then, from now on until the question and answer session, our moderator will lead the organization of this event. The floor is yours, Iqbal.
Thank you very much for a kind introduction, Ms. Evgenia Nielsen. Let's start the talk with citing and tweaking Uncle Ben's quote. Great technology comes with great responsibility. Following the industrial revolution that happened centuries ago, technological innovation has since had a huge impact towards our environment. In this current digitalization era, and with the emergence of sophisticated technologies, for example, artificial intelligence and 5G, it is noted that such an emergence and advancements focus on both economic activity in the form of digital economy and to not also neglect its impact on the environment. To raise this awareness, the implementation of the green economy within the digital economy framework is inevitable to sustain human civilization and life on this planet in the short and long term, where the role of law and policy will be imminent. Thus, on this occasion, the Center for Commercial Law Studies, Alumni Chapters Indonesia and Philippines, together with Young Lawyers Committees PERADI, decided to organize the webinar on the topic, the sustainability and sovereignty of digital and green economy in the AI era and 5G technology emergence from an Asian perspective. As part of our contribution to the society in particular, to educate and raise awareness to people, as well as providing recommendation to law and policy makers on what should be improved in handling this issue. Without further ado, we shall begin this presentation session with the opening keynote speech from Mr. Andra Reinhard Pasaribu. Mr. Andra Reinhard Pasaribu is a graduate of the Master of Laws from Pelita Harapan University, Indonesia in 2022. He is an esteemed legal professional with a thriving career as both as an advocate and curator. Currently, he serves as the managing partner of ARP & Co Law Office with expertise in bankruptcy law. Beyond his professional commitments, he is actively engaged in numerous prestigious organizations, holding positions such as Chairman of the Young Lawyers Committee, Deputy Secretary General of the Nation Leadership Council of the Indonesian Bar Association, DPN PERADI, Vice Chairman of the Indonesian Advocates Associations, IKADIN, and Deputy Treasurer General of the Indonesian Sport Committee, KONI. He is also a valued member of the Indonesian Receiver and Administrator Association. Mr. Andra, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, distinguished guests, colleges, and legal scholars. As chairman of the Indonesian Young Lawyer Committee, it's an honor to address you today. We are here to delve into a vital topic, the sustainability of digital and green economy in the era AI and 5G technology emergence from ASEAN perspective. I am thrilled by the expertise present, including speakers from Queen Mary University of London alumni in Asia and Europe, and our Indonesian colleges. We are all committed to navigating the profound impact of AI and 5G on our society, economy, and environment. ASEAN role in shaping our regional response is pivotal. The digital economy drives progress, while the green economy addresses environmental concerns. Our task as young lawyers is to advocate for legal frameworks that balance technological benefit with environmental responsibility and inclusivity. In Indonesia, uneven internet distribution poses a significant challenge. AI and 5G offer immense potential, but without widespread connectivity, their benefit remain limited. We must collaborate to bridge the digital divide and harness these technologies for societal improvement. The Asian perspective is critical, considering its member states' unique challenges and opportunities. The collaboration and a harmonized legal framework are key to building a sustainability digital and green economy. Let today's discussion be fruitful, inspiring us to navigate our professional journey with insight and collaboration. My gratitude to our speakers, organizers, and participants. Let's embrace the future with open minds and teamwork. I look forward to a day of enriching discussion and insightful revelation. Let us embrace the future of our profession with open minds and collaborative spirit. Thank you. Salam Jawa Barat. Thank you, Mr. Iqbal.
Thank you very much for the opening speech, Mr. Andra. Now we shall proceed to our first session from Mr. Firdaus and Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor. The first topic from Mr. Firdaus will be introduction and intersection between sustainability, sovereignty, digital economy, green economy, AI, and 5G. And for the second session, we will have Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor that will be talking about the role and impact of AI and 5G in the implementation of digital economy and green economy in Indonesia. I would like to read the short biography for both speakers. Mr. Firdaus is an alumnus of the Center the Center for Commercial Law Studies, Queen Mary University of London, with an LLM in Computer and Communication Law, graduating in 2013. Currently, Firdaus is a PhD student and researcher in ICT law at the University of Barcelona. Before his PhD studies at UUB began, Firdaus was a lecturer in ICT, Information Communication Technology Law modules at Universitas Padjadjaran, Indonesia. Such modules being taught by Firdaus are cyber law, media law, telecommunication law, case study online technology, and e-commerce law. Firdaus was also involved in some organizations in the ICT area, both local and global, such as Mastel, ICLC, ISOC, and Himatikki. He was the lead country Queen Mary University of London alumni ambassador in Indonesia between 2014 until 2022. Lastly, currently, Mr. Firdaus is co-chair of the CCLS Queen Mary University of London Indonesia chapter. And for Mr. Antonius Alexander Tigor, he is an alumnus of the Center for Commercial Law Studies, Queen Mary University of London, with an LLM in Computer and Communications Law, fully funded by a Chevening Scholarship. Antonius has an extensive career in the legal tech sector, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region. Currently, he is a General Manager Legal at Telkomsel, leads the International Division for YLC PERADI Indonesian Bar, and is co-chair of the CCLS Queen Mary University of London Indonesia chapter. Antonius won multiple accolades. Notably, he was the In-House Lawyer of the Year and Data Protection Lawyer of the Year in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, Singapore by ALB Thomson Reuters. Additionally, he has been recognized as Indonesia's Rising Star by Thomson Reuters in 2021 and 2023. Beyond his work in Indonesia, Antonius contributes globally, such as assisting chambers and partners in London to rank law firms and lawyers worldwide and establishing the Nusantara Innovation Forum in London. His chevening networks covers 160 countries in 2023. He was also recognized by the British Ambassador for outstanding contribution and dedication as a chevening alumni in Indonesia for bringing transformative and positive change in his professional fields. Without further ado, Mr. Firdaus, The floor is yours, and also Mr. Antonius.
Thank you. Should I share this? Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes. Hello. Hello.
Mr. Firdausi, unfortunately, we can't see your screen share.
Okay. Wait, I don't know what happened. Sorry. Share. Okay, why I cannot find my own slide here? Wait. I will do this because the PowerPoint is not. Can you see my screen? Sorry for the delay. I always experience
Yes,
this.
now it's in.
Okay. Let's see if slideshow will work. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May the blessing and the guidance from God us. Selamat malam, magandang gabi, ciao botai. Today, as the starter of this very big discussion, very broad topic here, because it is connection between at least six keywords, yeah: sustainability, sovereignty, digital economy, green economy, 5G, and artificial intelligence. I think it's something that we legal scholars or those who work in legal profession need to be accustomed in this fourth industrial revolution onwards, that we will have a different way on how to be accustomed, on how we learn or evolve our knowledge, because it's different than maybe during and the area of law is still limited with law, private law, and concessional law. So, excuse me, could you?
Kalau jaga paksa bagus tuh dia.
So the background of this event is as the world is already connected, yeah, the digitalization is already happening in many parts around our life. If we cannot say in every part of our lives, yeah, and that leads to the economic activity. The problem now is in our era, like nowadays, we cannot only concern about how to earn money or get the profit solely, but also we need to concern with the environment, because in the end, what matters how we do enjoy our life, or to make our quality of life is better if we cannot protect our planet, because so far we still cannot. We still have not found any planet that close to us that is habitable like our beloved planet Earth. Yeah. So for that reason, the sustainability is the key concept in the survival of humanity. And when we are talking about the sustainability, we are not only talking about the present, yeah, as it says in this United Nations Brethren Commission, when I think many of us still have not born yet, yeah, meeting the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own. So when we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about now and the future, yeah. And this lead to the concept of sustainable development goals later, yeah. In particular, Sustainable Development Millennium Agenda 2030, yeah, where there are 3 pillars, yeah, economic and environmental pillar and social pillar. So sustainability nowadays is not only limited by environmental, because it is actually also very much determined by economic pillar and social pillar, where it should be more inclusive and equality in economic should be reached. We are talking about the ideal one. And in ASEAN, because we are talking about ASEAN, I think the closest like similar SDG Agenda 2030 is ASEAN Community Vision 2025. Yeah, it's similar but not quite the same. Yeah, and then we are talking about the document, yeah, that ASEAN produce in with environment and digital is very detailed. Is quite a lot. Yeah, I will see the later. Yeah. Okay. So this is the core topic of this issue, is the sustainable digitalization, where there are at least 3 key things that we need to pay attention with. Yeah, is the sustainable digitalization. How digitalization is remain sustainable, especially from business to business, and then the use of green technologies. Yeah, and then green and circular economy. Yeah, when we are implementing the digital economy, for example. And of course, the innovation of policy, legal, regulatory framework, yeah, that can facilitate digitalization. Yeah. I think we come across that 6 problem that we already experience, I think, on a daily basis, maybe in our region or in Indonesia or in global. It's about like disinformation, talks digital divides, where people are not easily can connect, or even when they are connect, they are not mentally equipped with digital literacy, and there is a problem with the right violence, yeah, where obligation and rights knowledge is not equipped yet when people already connect with the internet. Then energy and emission, this is what lead to the sustainability, energy transition, and then scarcity, yeah. And then of course the way how we consume, yeah, that's also related to the why there is a gas emission and so on and so forth. But in order to do this, when we are talking about the scope from the country base, it is rely on, especially when we are as democracy system, to refer back to Polybius cycle theory, where if democracy is not followed with the quality, democracy will shift it to another system that it might be very far, and the victim will always be the citizen, not the elite one. it is, I think, refer to very back time, a long time ago. That's the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. So I think, to put simply, is survival of the fittest. This is why we need sovereignty. Yeah, sovereignty, I think, is the concept that is very old. I think before our grandparents, our life is already there. Yeah, is the power of a country or control within a certain border. But in digital sovereignty, I think the term is slightly being adjusted, to the control of organization over its entire digital environment. Yeah. In particular about data, applications, software system, and hardware. Yeah. And I think there are two key pillars in here that maintain determine digital sovereignty. One is data sovereignty, sovereignty. And to balance between asserting national control and fostering international cooperation. So in one way, we are still intended to be open but not vulnerable, but we don't want to be protectionist either. Yeah. So there are many aspects that we can talk about this, but I think this, then itself, I think it's worth to be right in a very big book. So I was just doing the introduction. Of course, digital sovereignty has many challenges, like reasonable, political, environmental, strategic, ethical, data security, economic. And how we approach, we might want to see the comparison with how the digital sovereignty being taken by USA, EU, and China, for example, because they, yeah. And I think if we prepare the outgoing President Jokowi, the currently still waiting of election, is but digital sovereign independence must be important principle in our digital transformation. Yeah, where digital transformation should not only benefit outsiders. Yeah, should be benefited for us, for Indonesia. Doesn't mean to be. He's talking as a president. When we are talking about digital sovereign, digital economy, of course, it is in the context, especially from ASEAN context, is how we can determine determine the shape of digital economy in our region. Yeah, we have our own unicorn, decacorn, for example. Yeah, we have our own or legal policy, regulatory. Yeah, and so we can be independent as a region or even as a country itself. And in green economy itself, of course, is on how we choose the technology or we use the way of kind of technology that can preserve environment, yeah, or enhance the economy, but not giving harm to the environment. So in order for digital sovereignty in green economy, this definitely needs sustainable digitalization. Yeah. So digital sovereignty is a green economy, aims to empower nation leverage digital tools and technologies in a way that aligns with the environmental goals and digital economy that actually already been introduced to the public in 1999, but I believe in Indonesia, I think it's just been very booming, or in our region, Southeast Asia, years. Yeah, I don't think 20 years ago, like nowadays, yeah. But I believe the digital economy actually more benefited for developing country like us, especially in our region, Southeast Asia, where I think if we look at how the power of digital economy, especially because our bonus demographic is, we are dominated by millennial Gen Z, Alpha, Beta. So it's very productive. So I think this one of our immensely in digital economy. Any other region? So when we are approaching digital economy, we also should work together rather than working as a country. We should at least work as a region, but also as a region, even we need to cooperate with our neighbor region, like for example, Asia or even Western countries. I think this is how probably people see that how ASEAN countries tend to have balance between close with Western and then close with East country, the non-Western one, yeah, because we have our own interests. I think to give some local region knowledge is there are two framework that ASEAN has produced in this past lately that is replaced with it. And one is DFAP, yeah, Digital ASEAN Digital Action, and the last one is just last year. It's living agreement. Yeah, it's still very early. Is Digital Economy Framework agreement. Also, Iqbal, please let me know if it's already minutes. 10, 15, but please not to make presentation less more than 20 minutes because I respect. This is just the example of how the history of ASEAN digital documents. Digitalization, so complicated to find. And this is like, we can spend 1 year. This, now, why there is concern about green economy to be implemented in digital economy? Also because greenhouse gases. Yeah, this is one why the carbon footprint definition or carbon footprint. Carbon footprint, yeah, is defined as a total amount of greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, CO2, yeah, methane, and nitrous oxide. So the greenhouse gases itself actually, which show heat, yeah, to the earth is needed because the earth cannot be too cool, but also cannot be too hot. The problem is likely the greenhouse gases is causing climate change because it's becoming too hot. Where in the future people might not anymore, because I think we have experienced that there are many cases where people died. Maybe recording in progress. Not Indonesia, but in other cases, people died because of the heat. Yeah. Yeah. So when we are talking about a carbon footprint, we think that carbon footprint is maybe for the manual activity that probably we use our cars, we eat beef, we eat meat, it contributes carbon footprint. But actually, even when we connect to the internet like now, is actually we contribute to carbon footprint itself, although it's much less, of course. But I think it's getting bigger because many things in this era is using connect to the internet, digitalization. So I think it's worth mentioning that we should also be more wise when we connect to the internet. Yeah? Because otherwise, the effect of digital carbon footprint will be as worse as the traditional one, like when we use coal, for example. Yeah? And of course, we all realize that when we connect to the internet, it's often it requires amount of electricity where it's getting generated by fossil fuels. Yeah? So there are some ways that we can reduce, but I think we can start from ourselves by reducing our e-waste, use electricity wisely, yeah, clean up cloud space, limit unnecessary streaming. This is probably bad news for the YouTuber influencer, yeah. Email more mindfully and power with renewables. This is where attention energy is needed. Yeah. And remember that email, digital photo, online work class, share work document. Yeah, that's not carbon-free space. Yeah, it's something we should remember. And of course, the presence of data center and data transmission network is also contribute carbon footprint. That's why there is a need data management of data center efficiency on how to use the energy. That's where artificial energy, for example, is needed. Consumption of energy is more efficient. Green economy that focus on environment, but actually this is related still with the concept of sustainability itself. Yeah, it has three component, core component: social, economy, environment. So for environmental, we know for sure that it's reducing environmental risks. Yeah, but in economic, actually, it will open up new opportunities. Yeah, new income, new employment. Yeah. And for social being, actually, it should be more inclusive. And I think this should be implemented widely, although I think it's easier said than done, because the damage time is already started and it will not getting better unless we do. We can reduce the damage significantly. But there is no way that we will experience like 30 years ago, like when the temperature is still much cooler. So one of the key features of green economy is efficiency, yeah, renewable energy, yeah, sustainability and environmental, yeah, green finance also. There are so many. I will not go in one by one. Now we go to 5G and then later AI before actually the second speaker will start to look deeper. 5G, I think Indonesia probably people already experience. Personally, I have not experienced what's the difference between 5G and 4G in reality, but I think what I read so far, it should offer a speed much faster, yeah, than 4G. And of course the reduce of latency and then the flexibility of wireless service, yeah, where it can connect easily with the with multiple gadgets. So I think this is the part where I think people can be more productive using 5G. And I guess maybe for broadband this is might be the key, but I don't know in reality in implementation how easy or difficult it will be, because especially when in a country like archipelagos like Indonesia, Philippines, and so on and so forth, it's more difficult compared with the country who are non-archipelagos country. 5G is very important, especially in the implementation of Internet of Things that can be done for implementation of green economy or even for agriculture, for example. Yeah. So, and we hope that because of the adoption of 5G, yeah, it will advance, for example, industrial automation, for example, with autonomous car. I'm not sure how it's going to be implemented in region, maybe in certain area, like maybe in our city, and also how implemented to be implemented in smart cities. Yeah, I think when we build new city in the future, or even when we remodified the current city, the city that already exists, most likely it will use the concept of smart cities. It's not only a matter of trend. Artificial intelligence. So I think this is the topic that's already very booming since last year after the AI ChatGPT. Yeah. According to the father of artificial intelligence, the science engineering of making intelligent machine, yeah, especially intelligent computer programs. I think we can see in easy way when the program is without AI and with AI. A computer program with AI usually without AI can only answer the specific question. So if you make a change a bit, yeah, then I think you start probably the answer will be like error, yeah, or something like that. But if you ask the general question with program who use AI, they still can solve even in creative way. Yeah, I think people who already use AI chat program probably realize that compared to the, for example, chatbot long time ago, yeah, 10 years ago, for example. So by using AI in the implementation of green economy, I think it will be beneficial for the implementation of green economy because the consumption will be more efficient, yeah, of energy, waste management, yeah, or even we can make a prediction on climate, yeah. So, but then we also have lots of talents, yeah, like data, for example, data privacy, security, bias, fairness, yeah, and then ethical use, of course. I think we compare with what happened in other jurisdiction. There is a law already, for example, in the EU. and then so on and so forth. And algorithmic bias is continue to be a nightmare for many of us. Yeah. So to summarize all of this brief introduction for me, in order for human to survive, we need to sustain and have self-sovereignty, because the critical role of digitalization in human lives, yeah, we need to make the planet, our beloved planet, not to faster, the damage faster than it should be, because everything will come to an end. But if we don't do anything, the damage will be much faster than we can. Yeah. So thank you very much for me. I hope it can be a good introduction before it's continued by the other. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi. And for the second panelist, Mr. Antonius, please proceed to the discussion.
Thank you, Iqbal, for moderating this session. I also very glad for Aussie. You explained very well. I enjoy the material that you share to us. I'm Antonius. I'm the GM of Legal Corporate Governance at Telkomsel. I'm also the head of the International Young Lawyers in Indonesian Bar. So before I begin my presentation, I would like to give a pantun. You know, pantun is Indonesian rhythm words. Ikan teri, ikan gabus.
Cakep.
Beautiful.
Queen Mary Pradi makin bagus.
Cakep.
Yeah, thank you very much for the good response. I would like to say hi to my student here from President Universities and another universities in Indonesia as well, and my beloved partner at the YLC PERADI, all over the Indonesian. I saw from Bandung and several cities in Indonesia, and for sure my fellow speakers from Vietnam and from Philippines, as well as the host Jane and also the moderator Iqbal. I'm very honored to be here to share about the AI and 5G technology. It is quite new concept, if I may say, because this is the concept that we have to learn comprehensively, I would say. Yeah, and for you that the artificial intelligence is a new concept for all the participants here, maybe what is AI or the 5G? The AI, I can explain with the simple words, is like a Terminator film. You know, the robot that have a mind and learned about the like mimicking the human mind. That is the AI in the Terminator films. And what is the connect to the 5G? Because AI needs a network. 5G is a network for AI. 5G is the newest and the updated technology in the telecommunications that makes information faster than before. So AI and 5G is a good combo in my point of view to expand the knowledge and the innovations and so on and so on. This is the agenda for my presentations this evening. And the introduction, I think it's like I explained before, that it is like a Terminator film. AI and 5G technology is actually driving innovation, efficiency, and growth in digital economy because first, it enhances the connectivity in real time and data analysis because 5G high-speed, low latency network enable real-time transfer and processing. So it's really essential for AI systems. The faster the network, the better AI outcome will be. So it is a win-win solution for those two technologies, AI and 5G. And it also can support the smart cities and infrastructures, meaning that AI and 5G are pivotal in developing smart cities by optimizing traffic management, for example, energy use that Aussie already explained to you. And they facilitate the IoT, Internet of Things. You know, you have the refrigerator in your home or the EV, electronic vehicle. All of those things can connect to the 5G. That's why we call it Internet of Things, because all of the things is connected by the internet. And the other driving innovation between AI and 5G is about the retail and e-commerce personalizations, agricultures and food supply chains, and the legal service innovations. I would like to explain more about the legal service innovation because I have, oh, there's a baby over there. So because I had the experience developing and deploying the AI in my office. So I made the legal chat service. So the idea is because the business unit always need this legal support like 24 hours. So my idea is I give the legal service 24 hours, including for the weekend via legal chat service. It is backed by the ChatGPT as well. And then we combine with the natural language processing with large language modeling. And the outcome will be, the outcome of this innovation is quite good because we enhance the legal service. We make the outcome better than before. And we got the revenue is increasing because we serve our customers in the telecommunications customers more better and with good profiling. And AI and 5G technology is also driving innovation in green economy. I think I already mentioned this about the EV, number 4, yeah, about the electronic vehicle, because we know that Indonesia is the biggest country that have the nickel in this globe. So our government have several plans to make the electronic vehicle getting better by the automotive industry. Compared to Vietnam, maybe my colleague here from Vietnam also can share about the EV later on. We are very amazed with the electronic vehicle from Vietnam. I think Viet Fast, or yeah, I think that's really very nice and good example for the Asian countries as well. So this is the core of these presentations, because most of us are lawyers. We're doing legal and policy work. So this is the core of the presentation, because the legal and policy framework governing AI and development in Indonesia and ASEAN actually shaped by a variety of factors that aim to balance innovation and with the responsible use. We have the regulatory bodies and legislations. For example, in Indonesia, we have Kementerian Informasi dan Komunikasi, or we can say the Ministry of Communication and Informatics. And the regional level in ASEAN, we have Asian Telecommunication Regulators Councils that they have the several meetings to discuss about the development of the AI and 5G. And I think it is a good sign, meaning that the authority reckon the advance of the artificial intelligence itself. And they want to flourish the business, because I had the experience from the authorities from several countries. They are very, business friendly in my point of view. And the second issues about the legal and policy framework about AI and 5G is, of course, about the data protection and privacy. I remember about my experience back to 2016 when I studied in the Queen Mary. I helped the several companies to enhance the privacy level, because at that time the GDPR has just socialized to all of the companies in the UK and all of the Europe as well. And these issues about the data protection and privacy continue to the Asian countries as well. For example, in Indonesia, finally, we had the comprehensive data protections legal framework number 27, 2022. After we learn and comparative benchmark to the GDPR as well. We reckon all of the Asian countries also have the similar law, like in Singapore with PDPA, and in India as well. They just enacted the new law about the data protection, I think 1 or 2 years ago. And the others important issues about the AI and the 5G is, of course, about the ethical AI guidelines. Recently, in the Ministry of Communication and Informatics in Indonesia just published the letters specifically about the ethical use of AI. It is this letter about the principle to using the AI in Indonesia. In my perspective, by the principles is quite similar with the Europe, because they have in Europe they have the EU AI Act already. That is the first and the most comprehensive AI law in the world. No wonder, because EU always in front in the perspective of the regulatory sides. So Indonesian compared to the EU, they have the similar principle like the transparency, accountability, algorithmic bias. Because when we're using the AI, we have to embrace the diversities. For example, if you have the favoritism for one race or two race, and it impact to the outcome, it will be reduce the quality of the AI of your services. So recently there are also the term about the AI called explainable AI, meaning that the AI itself should be explainable to the person who have the object of the AI. So it is the development of the artificial intelligence. Why we have to have the several principles like transparency and accountability, because AI is for good for the humanity, not for the several corporations or the several countries, no. But we can use AI as assistance for the day-to-day activity. And the last, I think, also important is about the cross-border collaborations, because we have the similarities between the countries. than the collaboration, for example, multilateral agreement or regional agreements to get the similar understandings about how we treat AI and using AI in our daily activities. And I think this is quite imperative to be considered by the authorities and also by the companies. Yeah. It is the regulatory framework overview. Based on my experience, well, I did this one because we use the Indonesian telecom laws, of course, because it's regulate about the 5G technology, and it's already published since 1999. It's quite old, in my point of view, compared to the advance of the technology day by day. And we have the Ministry of Communication and Information Circle that already mentions to you. It is about the ethics of AI. For the comparative benchmark EU AI Act, the world first comprehensive AI law. And yeah, we also consider about the intellectual property rights and so on and so on. So again, it is important for us to know about what is the challenge and critics for the lawyers, for the regulators, because the rise of AI and 5G also creates a new problems and challenges for us. For example, the digital divide and inequality, because the rural people in several islands in Indonesia or in several islands in Asian countries, they don't get the technology AI at the moment because they need the connectivity first. So the digital divide will be way bigger than we can imagine if there is no universal service obligations that we can provide the connectivity for all of the citizens, because it is the rights of information, the rights to enhance the quality of life using the technology. So that's the challenge. Number two, environmental sustainability, because yeah, the AI and 5G needs the data centers that, data centers, we need the energy to make these data centers still operative. Regulatory barriers, infrastructure needs, and ethical social implications. How to maximize the benefit of AI and 5G technologies? These the several actionable insights, in my point of views, that we can offer to the policymakers or for the companies for your client, for example, for the businesses, for the society. The first, we need the inclusive policy design. The policymakers should prioritize the inclusive policies that promote equality and equitably access to technology. Of course, we have to protect the vulnerable citizens, for example, the minority or the people with the disability, because they also need the AI and the 5G. For example, for the companies that I work, I propose to the management to provide the information for the disability customers, because all of the customers is equal. They give the money to the corporations, right? So in terms of the right on obligations, as a corporation, we have obliged to give the equal treatment to all of the customers. And regulatory sandboxes also it is one of the I think the benefit for the new technology, where the business can test the new technologies in the control environment. For example, in the telecom sectors, we can test the new technologies, but in the offline, not in the online network. So it can reducing the risk impact to the customers to using the communications. The explainable AI that I already mentioned in the previous slide, meaning that a user can expect a human understandable explanation of how an AI made a decision affecting to the human. We as a human is the creators of the technologies. And when the human impact by their technologies, we have the right of explanations why the decision of the technologies makes the different outcome, if I may say. So technologies should prioritize the human because we are the creators of the technologies inside. I think that's all from me from this phase. If you have any question or critics even are welcome. Back to you, Iqbal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Antonius and Mr. Firdausi, for the fruitful discussion. And I would like to address Mr. Antonius with a pantun as well. AI and 5G are new technologies, to name a few. Mr. Anton and audiences, also Mr. Firdausi, please let me express my gratitude by saying thank you. Now we shall proceed to the first Q&A session for the two speakers. If there are some questions that you would like to ask for our panelists, please type in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can direct your question directly. All right, Mr. Firdausi, I think it seems that you have questions for the panel. Please address the question.
I think we can go to address first Choice Afina Wahyuni, because I raise my hand to pull the trigger so other people will be encouraged to ask questions. So I will let the question from, I think in the chat box here, Choice Afriana, and after her, maybe I can ask question for Anto. This is the.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi. Choice Arfiana, would you like to address the question yourself, or would you like me to read out from the chat box? All right, I will read the question. The question is from Choice from President Unity. They would ask whether in this AI era there are so many segments that are replaced by AI, and that situation might impact on labor sector, which there has come to depression and other things regarding to labor. So what are the comprehensive steps to reduce the impact? All right, Mr. Firdausi, you may answer the question, please.
I think and Anton also can answer as well. We might have different. I think this is based on the education course, obviously. How what kind of skills that millennials, Gen Z, and Alpha Beta generation is different. Millennials is born as a television generation. Gen Z is already internet, and now Alpha beta is AI generation. So obviously they should be equipped with different, and that's include with how we learn the law as well, because as currently I think we law people who already study as still undergrad or even as a practitioner or researcher, we find that it's just a very different approach that we need to take when we study about the law era compared to our parents' generation, or even compare with people with 20 years generation older than us. Yeah? So I think this based on how we create the education, the collaboration of multi-stakeholder. I think you can start from the government working with other department, other minister, for example, Ministry of ICT, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Trade, Ministry. Yeah, I think it's basically it just comprehensively. It's something that when we create education system, it is to follow what the education needs, because bonus demographic is really a good capital, but if the amount of people is not equipped with the quality, I think it will be calamitous for Indonesia, and I think for Southeast as well, because I think the average of bonus demographic is high in our region compared, for example, in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi. Mr. Antonius, would you like to add something to the question?
Yeah, I think that is the interesting question from the choice. From my perspective, it's quite clear for me that AI will replace the humans for the several activities. For example, for the repetitive routines works that will be replaced by AI. So if you work in the repetitive and routine works, I advise you to enhance your skills and find other skills, because it will be replaced by AI. And how to reduce the impact on AI on job displacement? In my point of view, it is the education and training. It will be imperative, because the update educational curriculum to include AI and data literacy, and provide training programs for workers to acquire new skills. So it will be equipped as employee or humans to find a new skills and get the new benefit from their skills. And the second one is we have to have the job redesign, meaning that reworks jobs to include tasks that AI cannot perform. For example, that include the emotional intelligence, complex problem solving. My predictions for the judge, for example, it cannot be replaced by the AI, because it is include the emotional intelligence of the human, and we need wisdom to decide the case. Social policies and ethical regulation also important for us to reconsider about the advance of AI. Thank you, Joyce, for the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi and Mr. Antonius. And now we shall proceed to our second question by Mr. Ragil Mulyono Kencono. How can countries, especially in Asia, uphold digital sovereignty and the digital and green economy, specifically addressing challenges related to reducing carbon footprint associated with widespread AI and 5G technology development, considering the rapid pace of innovation, efficiency, and growth driven by AI and 5G in the digital economy? Mr. Firdausi?
Can answer it, and maybe question. I think from the ASEAN level, I think if I go back to my slide, there are digital framework agreement that already it's established since last year, but it's living agreement. Yeah, so it's in progress of discussion. So I think that's definitely where I think many stakeholders, I think including the university, the academic society, yeah, the civitas academy, can also contribute, maybe as a representative, maybe contact the ASEAN, like you have the what do you think is suggestion, yeah, because this is a must thing to do now. And I think it's from ASEAN perspective, it should be done like from the institutional first, yeah. And then we hope that this living agreement, like digital framework agreement, ASEAN do not work like works like European Union that can force every member states, but I think the encouragement for this one, digital framework agreement defined, yeah, is should be more, I don't know, more forceful, I think, compared to the previous one, because like the other digital document that ASEAN has produced, because I think we need to, because the sustainability and sovereignty is two things that ASEAN needs to take the priority, especially in the geopolitical conflict that have happened in our planet right nowadays. And so I think ASEAN, we need to start to be independent. And I think from the regulatory document, we can start from ASEAN level. But then I think when we are talking in our country level, I think this is something that need the role of multi-stakeholder, yeah, whether they are from the ministry, whether they are from the activists, whether they are from the company, because together we are stronger. But if only one people more aware, one other people ignorance, yeah, it's like blind meet the deaf people, right? So it's never gonna work. So I think it's easier said than done, but I think it's nice when the millennial and then the Gen Z and then Alpha Beta is more aware, because I think it's time for us, as is already proved by the current winning of the vice president from millennial generation. So we just need to keep the spirit, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi. Mr. Anton, would you like to add something to respond to the question?
Yeah, I think I echoed what Firdausi said, that together we stronger. Like Indonesia have Pancasila, meanings one of the point if the united, meanings when we're facing the human crisis like COVID, for sure the teamwork is crucial to tackle the problems, right? So I will add one point about the related to the question is about we have to have the cross-border data flow agreements between the Asian's territory, because, for example, Link Aja, the subsidiary of the Telkomsel, we can use those financial services in Singapore at the moment, and we can bring also in Vietnam as well. So the cross-border data flow agreements is imperative, meaning how to negotiate agreements that facilitate the efficient flow of data across the borders while ensuring that the data is managed in a compliance responsible way. I think that is one of the point that we can consider. Back to Yossi.
Are we answering another question? From Rima?
Yes, please. Now this will be the last question that I will read out and be answered by the speakers. And after this question directed to Mr. Firdausi and Mr. Anton, shall be typed in the chat box, and both respective speakers will answer it in the chat box. So it's from Rima Baskoro from Young Lawyers Committee, and she would like to address two questions for both Mr. Firdausi and Mr. Antonius. The first one is for Mr. Firdausi. How can one effectively uphold digital sovereignty in the context of a free trade era while aiming to attract a global market? And two, what potential consequences might arise if we neglect to embrace the digital economy? And for Mr. Antonius, the questions are, to what extent is our current legal framework for data protections proving effective in practical real-life scenarios? And the second question would be, how would you advise policymakers to prioritize inclusive policy design and and integrate it into their agenda effectively? Thank you very much.
Okay. For the first question is how effectively. I think the involvement or I think the crucial role of ASEAN and ASEAN countries to get involved in this DEFA, Digital Agreement Framework, is one of the crucial. I think about last week, Singaporean, I think Yusuf Ishak Institute, they organized just dedicatedly 2 hours or 3 hours just about this. So I get to discuss with them. And so I think I'm hoping that maybe people, including PERADI, for example, maybe can start to contact and then give some contribution, yeah, because it's a living agreement and still under the stage of discussion, yeah, start from September 2023. So if we can contribute, yeah, what kind of things that we need to do in order to maintain our openness to attract the market, but at the same time we want to protect the interests of our ASEAN, especially becoming the puppets of the other geopolitical outside of our region. Yeah, so I think this is definitely one of the crucial moments. Yeah, that's one thing. And then I think the number two, I think it's obvious that if ASEAN countries, including Indonesia, neglect to embrace digital economy, it's like people give us a lot of amount of money and then we throw it away. The answer is as simple as that. Because if we compare digital economy in ASEAN and we compare digital economy in other countries that may be more established, like in Europe, we are 11 countries only, 700 millions compared to European countries, for example. Because European countries' strength lies on the law and regulation policy. But in terms of the consumption, for example, and then the population as well, that's why they need more immigrant. It's because of that. That's where they're lack of. So this we only compare with this. And then we can compare, for example, in Latin America, we can compare with Africa and so on. We have the advantage here. Yeah. So I think if we do not embrace that, maybe throw the amount of money that actually is given by the moment. Yeah. So we should embrace it. I think we already at the right moment now. We just need to keep moving forward. We cannot feel complacent. Yeah. Including people from the world, please. Yeah. Including PERADI, please. Yeah. Connect with the institution like ASEAN. Yeah. We are PERADI, for example, maybe focus more on the law that is in Indonesia because that's the practical. But please more involve international because the way how ICT law, TMT law works, more like it's like two-faced. In one thing, in order to be practical, of course, you need to be implemented in each country. But of course, we also have the interest that maybe is benefited for other interests of other countries that may be similar fate like ours as a developing country, a country which to be organized. Yeah. So digital economy, I think, determine people not only about economy actually, but also our ideology, our mentality to maintain our local culture. Please be remembered that how the internet is spread is already considered as the implementation of imperialism, colonization, imperialism of culture. Yeah, because how internet it works, it's introduced. Somebody already start with certain view ideology. So beware with us as Indonesian, as Southeast people, that we need to learn from other countries that actually even better respond, like Japan or Korea, for example. They even in this kind of war with culture imperialism, they can even export their culture to be embraced by other cultures. So I think that's the approach that we need to have. And via digital economy, that's definitely what it should be. Thank you. Now is Anton to question.
Yeah, I got a question about to what extent in our legal framework for the protections from RIMA, from YLC. I think this is good questions. In my point of view, the effectiveness often comes down to the capacity of enforcement, legal enforcement, public awareness, the ability to keep pace with the technological innovation. In many cases, especially in jurisdictions with the fewer resources, enforcement can be inconsistent because you don't have any there is no robust legal enforcement. So it's depend on the jurisdictions. And the question number 2 is about the advising policymakers on inclusive policy design. In my point of view, for the inclusive policy designs, there are several steps that we can consider, like the stakeholders engagements involve diverse group from the beginning. This includes marginalized communities, industry experts, and civil society to ensure this policy will reflect a wide range of needs and perspective of the societies. So we have to invite all of the elements of group of people in those country. So the policy will reflect a wide range of needs and perspective. And of course, the impact assessment also the one that we have to consider, because to conduct impact assessment to understand how different groups will be affected by the policy and make adjustment to address any negative impacts. I think that's the quick answer to Rima's questions. Back to you, Iqbal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Firdausi and Mr. Antonius, for your generous and humble answers to the question. We would like to appreciate your contribution on this webinar. And after the Q&A session, we had just concluded our first part of this discussion. And now we shall proceed to our second part of our discussion by our two next speakers, which are Mr. Miguel Dimayakyak and Mr. Nguyen Quang Jiang. The third panel will be talking about the role and impact of ride sharing in the implementation of digital and green economy in Philippines by Mr. Miguel Dimayakyak, JD LLM. Mr. Dimayakyak is an alumnus of CCLS University of London with an LLM in Technology, Media and Telecommunication Law, graduating in 2023. He is also a technology, media, and telecommunication lawyer qualified in the Philippines, England, and Wales. He has broad experience in advising legal and regulatory requirements and identifying legal risk in the field of telecommunications, data protection, AI, Fintech, and cross-border online transactions. After joining one of the leading law firms in Philippines, he is now working with a Singapore-based TMT and Fintech boutique firm as a project consultant at Orion W. And for the fourth panelist, the discussion will be about e-commerce in Vietnam, the development and role in the economy in the AI era and 5G by Mr. Nguyen Quang Jiang. He is an alumnus of CCLS Queen Mary University of London with an LLM in Comparative and International Dispute Resolution, graduating in 2013. Currently, Quang Jiang is a legal counsel at Shopee LLC, an e-commerce platform in Vietnam. He supervises all legal matters of the firm for the compliance in the Vietnam market. Jiang is also a visiting lecturer at Ho Chi Minh City University of Law. Before working for Shopee and Law Uni, Jiang worked for Baker & McKenzie and Ellens & Linklaters law firms. Jiang's specialization includes investment law, e-commerce law, commercial law, and other relating legal aspects. Without further ado, Mr. Miguel and Mr. Zhang, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Iqbal. Good evening to all the participants, all my colleagues at this event. Um, the previous two speakers have discussed uh, what I would say is an overview of how does AI, how does 5G impact the role of the digital and green economy, not only from a private perspective, but also from the policy perspective. And now I think starting from me and from and to the next speaker, we will now start to uh, get down to some particular industries, and I will start this with my presentation on the ride sharing in the Philippines. Um, well, first and foremost, the Philippines was very proud in 2015 when the Philippine government claimed that it was the first country in the world that came out with the regulatory framework for ride sharing as as an industry, and they coined the terms transport network companies and transport network vehicle services as the preferred name of ride-sharing companies and the ride-sharing partners. And if you read the regulations, they would frequently refer to Grab or to other players as TNCs and to the partner drivers as TNV as provider. Now, um, in the context of legal framework, like how does the Philippines regulate ride sharing? Well, as you have in the screen, we have the Constitution, because as the Public Service Act provides, public transport, or the more technical term is mass public transport, is a public utility that requires the ownership of 60% of the 60% of the company has to be owned by Filipinos. So that's the reason why some entrants are reconsidering some. This is like a barrier to entry to the Philippine market, and also another law that regulates the ride sharing is the Land Transportation and Traffic Code, enacted in 1964. Obviously, then you have the laws against distracted driving and drunk and drug driving. So as you can see, some of the main laws regarding ride sharing in the Philippines are quite dated, around 50 or 80 years. So um, as we go into the presentation, please bear with me because some of the details will be murky from here on in. Now, for motorcycles, I frankly do not know how they want to regulate motorcycles. Because if you look at the Land Transportation Code, motorcycles are not included as a mode of transportation for public transport. Some say, and it's the prevailing argument, that since motorcycles are not included in the list for public transport, motorcycles as public transport should be illegal. So the way they went about this is in Congress, someone proposed a law amending the Land Transportation Code and including motorcycles as part of the list for public transport providers. Now, to allow the motorcycle providers to operate, the government devised a technical working group and commissioned a study to see whether the public transport sector in the motorcycle group would be safe, would be efficient, would be economical, or if there will be sufficient demand for it. And the pilot study has been running on for around 4 or 5 years now, and there's still no results. Like, a group of drivers already questioned this with the Supreme Court, saying that, what are you doing with the motorcycles? Like, are they supposed to be continue to operating under a legal limbo? Like, we don't know if they are required to do this, if they're required to do that. All we do know is you are supposed to study this, but nothing's happening. So um there is still much to discuss in the legal and the policy field as regards motorcycles. Now, as you can see now in the screen, this is the some of the ride-sharing players in the Philippines. Well, Grab controls around 90 to 95% of the market, clearly a dominant player. Then um, Auto, a locally developed app. TokTok, another locally developed app. Angkas is the supposed to be the pioneer of motorcycle ride sharing in the Philippines. Then came Joyride. Then ePick Me Up and InDrive are the new latest players in the Philippines. But InDrive has yet to commercially launch. But ironically, the Philippine regulator already questioned InDrive for its supposed unfair practices, and I'll discuss the practice of InDrive later on in this presentation. Now, what is the government now doing to support the movement towards green economy, controlling emissions, all sorts of all that stuff? Well, recently the government passed the Congress and the president enforced the law, all the Electric Vehicle Industry Act, which incentivizes the distribution or the sale and the access of electric cars, hybrid cars, and also required the identification of so-called green routes, wherein public transport that is green, considered green, like electric buses, electric taxis, and so forth and so on, can only fly certain routes. So if you're not a green car or if using an internal combustion engine, you cannot go inside a green route. But until now, I haven't found any detail of where these green routes are. And the government has placed importance as well with the digital economy when they enacted the National Payment Systems Act. This law facilitates the cashless payments in Grab and what have you. And I must emphasize the Philippine Competition Act because the Philippine Competition Commission has now been placed as the de facto regulator of Grab. Because as you know, a couple of years ago, Grab acquired Uber, and the Philippine Competition Commission considers Grab as a dominant player in the industry. So it compelled Grab to make commitments, and whenever the watchdog says, "Oh, your commitment has been breached," they'll issue an ultimatum, and if the ultimatum is not met, they'll issue hefty fines. So right now, the Philippine Competition Commission is a de facto regulator. Now, the Data Privacy Act, as mentioned earlier, data protection, data privacy is an important pillar of the digital economy. The Data Privacy Act, in particular, helps consumers like us to know what does Grab, what does Angkas, what have you do with our personal information. And quite frankly, a few years ago, the the National Privacy Commission actually ordered Grab to cease and desist from implementing a facial recognition feature in its application, saying that essentially questioning whether this practice of facial recognition is necessary and proportionate to what Grab says to be public safety. And as far as I know, Grab has never re-implemented facial recognition in its services in the Philippines. Now, what is the Philippine government, at least on paper, doing to leverage the onset of 5G in the Philippines with respect to ride sharing? Again, sad to say, I do not know because as I last checked earlier, in one of the commercial databases here, the words fifth generation or 5G and ride sharing and transportation does not appear in any government issuance. To be candid with you, even the telecommunications regulator has not issued at least publicly available issuances what the policy direction is about 5G. So there's a lot of gray area as to how 5G is supposed to be used by the government in its provision in its transition to a digital economy. There is a lot of gray area as to how 5G can play a role in the development of the Philippine economy at large. And I would dare say that there's a legal gray area as to how the Philippines intend to regulate the 5G sector in as a whole. Because publicly available information as to how the telecoms regulator here would handle 5G is there's nothing to begin with. Now, for AI, the Department of Trade and Industry recently launched their strategic roadmap for AI. Unfortunately, the roadmap does not have a clear does not have a clear impact for ride sharing because the roadmap essentially discusses like how to develop a resilient job force from AI, like how to entice investments for AI, and all sorts, all that kind of stuff. But they do not talk about like how does ride sharing and AI coexist? How can they help in for example solving the increasingly worsening traffic situation in Manila, as some of you may have known. Um, Even the traffic management authority in Metro Manila has yet to take action as to how they want AI and other technological developments to be used to combat traffic. Now, how do I see ride sharing in the Philippines moving forward? Number one, ride sharing in the Philippines, especially from the regulatory perspective, has been extensively regulated from an entry perspective. Like the government has been very busy saying, oh, before you can operate a ride sharing endeavor, you have to have these sorts of licenses. You have to have these sorts of permits from various regulators. But apart from that, the government has not been active in looking into the ride sharing sector. Although a few years ago, Grab shared data with the Asian Development Bank on how to address the traffic crisis in Metro Manila, but that proved to be a dead end because there was no action on the government's part. So I would strongly suggest that the government should move away from entry regulation and look at the entire industry as a whole. Like, how does ride sharing, how can ride sharing help in dealing with the traffic, with all the emissions, with all the time wasting in the roads? And that leads me to the second point. Like, we all know that all these apps, all these providers have AI on their back end. We all know that they can leverage 5G. So I think it is now high time to now clearly delineate like how can we leverage about this? Like, do we analyze traffic patterns? Do we analyze traffic violations? Do we analyze emission data? All that kind of stuff. So I think the problem here for the Philippines is everything is a gray area. And lastly, to help combat the emissions, to help propel the Philippines to a more, shall I say, greener country, um, make electric cars and hybrid cars more attractive. Like presently, the only visible incentive from the public from acquiring an EV or a hybrid is they're exempted from the vehicular reduction program of the Metro Manila traffic regulator. Apart from that, there is a very small tax incentive, but other than those two, I don't see any clear incentive. So we have the government has to entice the public more, like maybe give tax breaks, maybe make it more attractive for the public to buy to use. So as you can see, entry regulation has been the focus. And with entry regulation, I just want to go back to the point where I mentioned InDrive. InDrive obtained a license to operate from the Philippine regulators. They're supposed to commercially launch a few weeks from now. But the government objected to a InDrive system of having to bid for your own fares. Because according to the Philippine government, fares have to be standard. So well there is a public policy that served that, like public transport has to be accessible, but at the same time it hinders the entry of a new player. It hinders competition from entering and contesting Grab's status in the market. So there are, as you can see, there are various competing interests here, but and the government has to really literally walk a tightrope here. But sad to say, currently, in my personal opinion, ride sharing has somehow contributed to traffic congestion in Metro Manila because of more cars on the road without leveraging the available technologies and data coming from it. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much. Back to you, Iqbal. I think you're on mute, Iqbal.
Oh, sorry. So thank you very much, Miguel, for reminding me that I'm still muted. Now we shall conclude our presentation with the fourth presenter, which is Mr. Jen. Mr. Jen, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ibo. So okay, now to meet all of you. So my topic today is about Vietnam e-commerce in the development of the role in the economy in the era of AI and 5G. So my agenda will have four main issues. The first one is about, sorry, please let me share the screen. Yeah. My agenda will cover four issues. The first one is about the Vietnam e-commerce in a comparison of Asian. The second is about the development of e-commerce in Vietnam and the application of AI and 5G. And then I will move to the third topic is about the regulations on e-commerce for a green economy in Vietnam. And finally, we will have a chance to have some case studies related to green economy of e-commerce in Vietnam. So let's start with the first topic about Vietnam e-commerce in a comparison of Asian. Please wait for a second. Okay, so you can see my screen right now. So according to a report of Google, Temasek and Bain & Company in 2021, the number of population using internet in Asia is around 3,060,000 people, and this number increased year by year. In 2020, you can see that it's increased to 440 million, and then in 2021, it's increased to 440 million. So assuming that Asian still keeps the speed, the number of internet users in Asian now is around 520 million. So it's quite a stable increase. So there remains significant space in Asian for future digital economic growth, because Asian is towards its long-term ambitions and profitable growth. Because as you can see on the chart, the amount of money spent by internet user in Asian also increased years by year by a statistic of Facebook. You can see on the chart in 2021, the average amount spent online by online buyers is around $381 US. However, this amount increased and expectedly in 2026 is around $671 US. So comparison to the kind of positive increase, how the revenue of e-commerce in Vietnam contributed to this. So also in a report of Google in 2023, Vietnam in terms of revenue continued to be the country having the speed of e-commerce growth fastest in Asia in the 2 consecutive years. That is in 2022 and 2023. It is also expected that Vietnam still keep this rate until 2025, similarly to Indonesia. So I would have to have a conclusion for this part is that from the above information, we can see that the digital economy is still increasing in Asia, both in the number of users as well as in the amount of money spent by them on digital product. On top of that, Vietnam is still have a positive speed of development in terms of number of users and in terms of revenue as well, specifically relating to the revenue, where Vietnam speed of e-commerce grows fastest in 2 consecutive years, 2022 and 2023. So now we move to the second discussion about the development of e-commerce in Vietnam and the application of AI and 5G, how we currently apply AI and 5G in our e-commerce economy here. We can see here in the screen, the population of Vietnam currently is around 100 million. However, the percentage of people having mobile phone is 164%. It means that one people have more than one smartphone right now in Vietnam. In terms of the internet user in Vietnam, and in terms of the internet user in Vietnam, it's accounted for 79% of our population. This means that there are the good backgrounds for the development of digital economy and e-commerce in Vietnam. However, to be honest, e-commerce is just popular in Vietnam recently, although it has been introduced to Vietnam quite a long time ago due to many reasons that I will discuss with you at the latest slide. Okay, here is kind of the milestone for e-commerce development in Vietnam. We have 3 main phases. The first one is creation time in 1997 to 2010. And the next one is about the development duration in 2010 to 2015. And current time is a rocket duration, which is from 2016 until now. So we move first one with the creation time. In this time from 1997 to 2010, during this time, we witnessed in Vietnam, we witnessed the introduction of law on e-transaction in 2005. In addition, during that area in Vietnam, we also witnessed the investment of foreign funds into digital company in Vietnam, like IDG Venture, where they invested in Vinagame, a local company focused on game creation, or Chợ Điện Tử, which is kind of a local e-commerce platform. And in this duration, we also witnessed the establishment of online websites like eBay.vn and Versa.com. And in this duration, we also have the kind of official training courses on e-commerce in university, which is kind of the initial stage for the development of e-commerce at the next phase from 2010 to 2015. In this duration, we have more clearer legal framework related to e-commerce. That is the degree number 52 on e-commerce and the establishment of e-business index of VCOM in 2012. VCOM is a Vietnam e-commerce association, which have to protect the rights and obligation of relevant e-commerce company in Vietnam, as well as the establishment of several e-commerce platforms in Vietnam. We could see during that time like Lazada, Senda, Shopee, Foodie, Foodpanda, etc., and the introduction of sharing platform like Grab or Uber, etc. in such time. And after the development, now we move to a kind of the rocket era from 2016 until now. In this period, we see the introduction of certain legal framework to govern the development of e-commerce more better, like Decree 85 and replaced on modified by Decree 91 on e-commerce, law on consumer rights protection, law on e-transaction supplemented, and law on data privacy, etc. In addition to that, in this period, we also see the market entry and the withdrawal of certain e-commerce platform. Like in 2016, we see the newcomer Tiki, and now in 2018, we see the trend of market share from Uber Vietnam into Grab, and now there's no Uber in Vietnam market. As well as in 2022, we see the newcomers TikTok Shop in Vietnam market and the withdrawal of e-commerce platform on food that is based from Korean investors. About AI and 5G in Vietnam e-commerce. Related to AI, recently, certain e-commerce companies in Vietnam has used AIs in their operation. For example, in Lazada, they have used AI to detect the size of goods and then recommend a suitable packing size box to sell the workforce as well as to sell the materials. And other e-commerce companies also use AI to detect the fake products in the listing view in the listing review process. And they also use AI in a certain kind of step for e-commerce operation, like to detect harassment comments, to detect harassment chats, etc., which serve the seller, the buyer better. In addition, some e-commerce also cooperate with brands to apply AI to help buyers increase their shopping experience, like buyer could illustrate themselves in the product to have kind of better evaluation before decide whether they should buy that product or not. So therefore, it could be stated that AI is becoming more and more popular in e-commerce sector in Vietnam. In relation to 5G in Vietnam e-commerce, honestly, I have to say that 5G is not used widely in Vietnam right now, and it's not commercialized use in Vietnam yet. And 5G is just under the pilot implementation, under the pilot experiment in some area in Vietnam with a limited effect to the Vietnam economy. And here you can see a picture in the screen. This is a picture of a robot using by logistic company Viettel Post. They use it to kind of deliver all of the parcel around their warehouses without using people. This kind of initial use of AI in Vietnam relating to transportation or 3PLs company. So next one, let's see how Vietnam government create a legal framework relating to e-commerce for a green economy development. We have certain legal basis on e-commerce for the operation. The first one is law on e-transaction 2005. And the three really kind of important decree governing the operation of e-commerce, that is decree number 52, decree number 85, and decree number 91 on e-commerce activities, and they govern kind of the rights and obligation of the seller, of the buyer, and of the e-commerce platform owner, etc. And we also have the law on consumer right protection. We also have the decree on data privacy, the law on e-transaction, and in addition to that, we also have the law on environment protection. However, my comments is that under Vietnamese law, there is no separated regulation applicable to e-commerce relating to green economy, and therefore the general regulations will be applied in this situation. Some main regulations relating to the responsibility of e-commerce on the environment protection, as I just mentioned previously, is the law on environment protection. However, under this law, there's no specific regulations on online business. On the other hand, certain general provisions of this law on environment protection could be applied to online sector as well, such as Article 73 regulates that the obligation of the organizations, individuals on reduction, reuse, or recycle, and are handling plastic waste for a sustainable development and for environmental protection. So now we move to a final part of my speak about the case study to see how currently e-commerce company in Vietnam tackle with the green economy and sustainable development by studying the case of Lazada and Grab. So as we can be seen in the previous slide, e-commerce in Vietnam has been developed very well and contributed actively to the GDP and economy of Vietnam. However, there are also the concern on its sustainable development or green economy. The social media in Vietnam had realized that the negative impact of the e-commerce on the environment, and there are many newspapers having articles on the overuse or kind of the use of plastic bags, of bottles, of boxes on online purchase in Vietnam. And under a report of Economy of Southeast Asia in 2022, the awareness of environmental issues remain not yet fully developed, but still on the rise. It means that we are still at the early stage of environment protection relating to e-commerce economy. However, the digital economy players can play a positive role to leading Asian consumers toward more sustainable habits or to increase the awareness of Asian consumers. And this situation is similar to Vietnam market as well, where you can see that the authority does not catch up with the quick development of the e-commerce. It's led to the result that there are lacks of regulations and directions for a sustainable or for a green economy development. However, although there are lack of clear regulation on green economy and e-commerce sector, certain e-commerce players also apply some method for the sustainable development as well as for the corporate social responsibility to increase the awareness of consumer as well. So we move to the first case study of Lazada for our more better understanding. Okay, so when we talk about green economy, the first issues I would like to discuss is about sustainable packaging, green marketing, and education. So in the case study of Lazada in Vietnam recently, Lazada has released a handbook, Effective Environmental Friendly Packaging. This handbook provides useful advice so that the seller could pack the good properly and efficiently to save the packaging materials while minimizing the effect to the environment. So this handbook is also a similar approach by Shopee Vietnam, where certain brand sellers, Shopee also use paper materials for packaging instead of using a plastic. And these paper packaging material could be recycled and reused to reduce the impact to the environment. And the second matter related to a case study of Lazada I would mention here is about carbon neutral shipping. As we have previously discussed by other speaker, the carbon neutral shipping is also kind of one of the consideration that's for sustainable development in digital economy. And in an economy report of Southeast Asia by Google, it has recommended that to reduce the e-commerce carbon footprint by 30 to 40%, the logistic provider can deploy electric vehicle to handle the last mile deliveries and further reduce and recycle packaging materials. So relating to the reduction of carbon emissions, Lazada also brings the first 100 electric motorbikes into Vietnam to delivery in first mile and last mile to contribute to the reducing of carbon emission in Vietnam. From a point of view, although the number of electric motorbike is just 100, which is quite small compared to 1,000 of shippers of Lazada using motor in Vietnam. However, it seems to be a positive move with a hope that a such number could increase more in the future. Let's move to a case study of Grab related to green economy of e-commerce in Vietnam. So I would mention about from November 5, 2019, the customer of Grab in Vietnam will not be provided with disposable plastic tableware on the GrabFood app by default. And this is also kind of a similar approach by other food delivery e-commerce platform in Vietnam like Shopee Food. In addition to that, in Vietnam, Grabs also have a process to digitalizations for reduced paper use, like they promote the paperless approach instead of using and printing out kind of the receipt or the invoice relating to that service. Now the user could log in into the apps and read the information instead of printing out. So this is also the approach that other e-commerce player like Shopee Food or Food Panda in another name also use in Vietnam. So I would like to have a conclusion that although the effectiveness on
Yeah, and your voice.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, great. So I would like to have a conclusion about this case study is that although the effectiveness of these methods in Vietnam remain to be seen, for example, the handbook of Lazada is kind of an encouragement, a recommendation, and it's not a compulsory, and this is heavily dependent on the voluntary participation of the seller. Likewise, the number of electric vehicles of Lazada is quite small compared to the actual number of shippers Lazada in Vietnam, 1,000 of, compared to just 100 vehicles. However, it's kind of a positive move of Lazada. And there's a good signal that the company are cautious about the sustainable development. And in turn, the customer could increase more about the awareness of environment protection through the action, the education from the e-commerce company. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zheng and Mr. Miguel. I would like to track the audiences whether there are any questions or not, because Mr. Firdausi seemed to have had raised his hand. Is it for a question purpose, Mr. Firdausi?
Yes, I have a question for both of the speakers. Yeah, since it's a rare chance for me to meet both of them at the same time. So for
Yes.
Miguel, The question, I think there are lots of problematic about how to develop the law and policy in the Philippines, in particular if during the presentation or even before, after when we have discussed that. So I was wondering if there is a problem with in the bureaucracy, in the government, the political will. I was wondering what happened in the civil society, from the civil society perspective, from the activists and the academia. Because sometimes it's order for us to reform or to amend the law and regulation, we need the law, we need the movement outside of the government. So I was wondering if the society actually, I don't know, maybe not aware yet, or maybe there are no activists in this particular green area, green economy, digital economy, and so on and so forth. Because, for example, for privacy and data protection, we have activists. I think I told you that it takes so many years for us to finally we have privacy and data protection. Yeah, one of the factors, of course, it is more factors, is because we have privacy activists who vote strongly, even though the original culture of it is very private with us. Yeah. So that's my question for Miguel. As for Zheng, my question for you is, I think you really did a good presentation in terms of the implementation, yeah, of the green economy. But maybe the question will be related on the topic that in Vietnam recently Vietnam has launching data protection law, right? So I was wondering the role of data protection law in Vietnam in regards in the e-commerce sector, because you know the role of data protection law is it might be stifle the innovation, it might be stifle the digital economy in particular from the business entity, but at the same time it might be enhance the reputation of the business itself if the society is aware with the privacy and data protection of them. Or what do you think the role of data protection is? Is this more derived because of the ASEAN influence, the neighbor, or the GDPR, or is it actually the will from the society? Or what do you think that the level of implementation of data protection law in Vietnam in the future? Do you think there are still so many law that needs to be produced as an extension of data protection law in Vietnam? Because, for example, in Indonesia, we already have data protection law since 2022, finally, yeah, after 10 years. But we have an extension of so law with the law, second law degree, yeah, that is below that the law itself, yeah, as an implementation of data protection law. So I was wondering, because I don't know how the legal system works in Vietnam, so I was wondering if that's how it's going to work in. Thank you. That's my question. The final. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh,
Okay.
Thank you, Aussie, for that question. With respect to civil society movement, there is very strong civil society movement to tackle the ever worsening traffic in the Philippines. However, the movement does not extend yet to how to leverage AI and 5G. How does ride sharing go about helping the green economy, the digital economy, and things like that? Because the movement right now is still focused on like how do we solve or how do we address the traffic in the Philippines. Like as you may have known, the Philippines has been labeled as home of the worst traffic in the world last year. So the clamor is there, but I think the clamor has yet to reach um, the levels of how do we leverage the data of Grabs and other players to in in with respect to AI and 5G. And I think that's pretty understandable because the problem of traffic is very tangible, and the impact of the green economy and the digital economy may not be so tangible in their perspective.
Okay, from the question that you have just asked me, for about the legal framework, I think it's similarly to your country as well. Because in Vietnam, after we have the Decree 13 on data privacy, and then we will need some kind of subordinative legal framework to develop it, as well as to have a kind of more clarification on that. And we are under the process to draft a circular to kind of have more guidance on the data privacy regulation. So that is addressed to your second question. And relating to your first question is about the purpose of data privacy regulation in Vietnam. So I think that there will have two main purposes. The first one is to kind of protect the sovereignty of Vietnam, like protect the government relating to how we control our kind of the data of the user in Vietnam, and to protect it from kind of the leaking into other country. And in the second purpose is also kind of benefits for the data owner as well, because under the new regulation, there's a kind of clear regulation on how and which information the data collector could collect from the data owner, as well as they must have the consent from the owner relating to which data will be collected and for what purpose. In addition, there's some kind of clear regulation on how the data owner could withdraw the consent relating to this collection and possession relating to data privacy. Compared to previous regulation, now we have kind of a clear framework on what and how we should protect the data privacy of the users, as well as how the data collector could use of the information, in addition to protection of the data for the benefits of the Vietnam government. Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the answer, Jane and then Miguel. So it's up to Iqbal and then Jane later.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Firdausi. Is there any other questions from audiences? Okay, if there ain't any, then I would like to ask moderator questions for Mr. Miguel. What is the role of competition law in ride sharing in the Philippines? Do you think the competition law is adequate in fostering ride sharing business? Because you have mentioned about InDrive earlier, which we also have one in Indonesia. And if it has adequately fostering, why? And if it's not, then why not? Then what should be done?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, for starters, the competition law in the Philippines is pretty young. It's the regulator itself has not been around for quite some time, and actually, the Grab acquisition of Uber was its first big deal to handle. That's right off the gate, they got a big acquisition to deal with, and I think for the most part, from a strictly consumer perspective, I would say that what the competition commission is doing is quite not enough, because yes, the competition commission has forced Grab to make some commitments, like you have to have certain drivers on the road, you have to have fare caps, you have to have certain quality levels to meet. But if you ask the ordinary public commuter and day out, they would say that it takes them around an hour at least to get a Grab in Manila on rush hour, and on a regular rush hour, but for like Christmas rush hour, um, they probably would tell you they'll never get Grab. So while on paper, the competition commission is pretty active in making sure that Grab doesn't cross the line from within it drew its commitments to. Um, it still is a pretty much a burning issue of whether what the competition commission is doing is actually just for the sake of paperwork, because as mentioned, like down on the street, the ordinary commuter, they never really feel what the competition commission's orders are, like disgorging X pesos from Grab, or mandating driver availability. That doesn't reach the regular consumer. Thank you.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Miguel. And this question is for Mr. Zhang. I would like to ask that on macro level, it was shown that in the data that both the contribution toward GDP has increased by e-commerce activities and it has shown the economic growth rate in Vietnam as well regarding the contribution of e-commerce. And both on macro level, it has stated that it has promotes inclusivity, labor opportunity, and sale of Vietnam products globally. So I would like to ask whether there are some indicators that could be shown, probably like has this been I would like to rephrase my question. Is the wealth distribution actually has getting better with the improvement of e-commerce, or yeah, that's the question. Has the wealth distribution become improved with the aids of e-commerce in Vietnam?
So your question is about whether the e-commerce in Vietnam benefited the Vietnam's economy society. If that's understanding correct, right? If so, I think that the answer will be a yes, because I think that the digital economy, especially the e-commerce in Vietnam, had benefit the Vietnam economy society, especially in relation to the financial and economic perspective as well. For example, in case of the e-commerce, so thanks to the development of e-commerce in two rural areas, now everyone could sell and buy kind of many products on e-commerce platform. And if they would like to become kind of a seller on e-commerce platform, they could. And if the product is good enough, they could become a successful seller, no matter how small or big they are, thanks to the support of e-commerce platform. Like, okay, now you have the logistics in front of your door, you have the kind of the marketing team, you have kind of the how to display your product on the e-commerce platform, etc. Everything has kind of the assistance from the e-commerce company. You only need to kind of focus on your product. The rest process could be assisted by the e-commerce company, compared to kind of 5 or 6 years ago in Vietnam. Although you have kind of good products, however, it's very hard for you to sell, deliver the product, or for you to kind of sell a sub product on kind of the website or the e-commerce platform, etc. Because at that time, in the previously, e-commerce is not well developed in Vietnam, and the logistics system is also not good compared to currently, where it's kind of more developed, and it in turn benefits for the seller, micro seller, small seller in Vietnam. So my answer is a yes for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Zhang. Now I would like to wrap up and summarize all the discussion that has been mentioned by the panelists. From Aussie mentioned that green economy needs to be implemented as soon as possible and applied for many sectors with an outstanding legal framework, both national and inter-jurisdiction or cross-border one. And from Mr. Antonius, challenges in implementation in technology could be mitigated with insights for policymakers that could be applied by them as well. And not to mention the business and society in regards to the AI and 5G technology. And for Miguel, ride sharing should shift from anti-regulations to clear policies that attract electric vehicle and HEV, and ride-sharing companies should be helped by AI and 5G, especially to mitigate the risk of traffic jams in Philippines. And Mr. Yang mentioned that e-commerce might have issues in regard to green economy because of in their business process, but customers and even the products are getting better and improve this and mitigate this risk as well because e-commerce had contributed so much for the economy in Vietnam. Thank you very much for the discussion tonight. It's been very fruitful. It's been very informative. Now I would like to return the floor to Evgenia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iqbal. Thank you. I think we are already at the end of the session for this event. On behalf of the joint organizer between Center for Commercial Law Studies, Queen Mary University of London, Indonesia Philippine chapters, and Youth Lawyers Committee, PERADI Indonesia, I would like to say thank you very much for everybody's participation and contribution from the speakers, moderator, and of course the audience during the event. I hope from this event we can learn valuable things and how the world can be sustained in this digital era, whether as a consumer, businessman or businesswoman, or law policy makers, so that the development of technology impacts remains to improve our quality of life. Great technology comes with responsibility, after all. So here I would like to say goodbye to everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.